By 2026, Watch Dogs 2 doesn't feel like a story about hackers trying to tear down the system anymore. It feels like a story about how rebellion itself becomes absorbed, normalized, and quietly repurposed. The single most interesting idea the game accidentally nails is that DedSec doesn't just fight power, it teaches the world how to use it. And once that knowledge is out, it can never be taken back. At the start of the game, DedSec positions itself as a counterculture movement. They're anonymous, unserious on the surface, chaotic by design, and openly mocking the corporations and institutions that control San Francisco. Marcus isn't trying to replace anyone in charge. He just wants to expose corruption, clear his name, and give people back some control over their lives. Early DedSec actions are small, almost symbolic. Breaking into CTOS facilities, hijacking billboards, embarrassing companies like Nuddle and Bloom. It all feels like guerrilla activism. The power comes from exposure, not dominance. But as the story progresses, something shifts. DedSec stops being reactive and starts being proactive. They aren't just responding to corporate abuse anymore, they're shaping narratives. Every mission ends with follower counts rising, public opinion swinging, and DedSec's brand becoming stronger. The game treats followers like a score mechanic, but in hindsight, it's one of the most uncomfortable parts of the entire story. DedSec becomes influential not because people understand the truth, but because they're entertained, outraged, or emotionally nudged into agreement. By 2026 standards, this hits hard. DedSec isn't dismantling the attention economy, they're mastering it. They learn exactly how outrage spreads, how spectacle amplifies a message, and how algorithms reward engagement over nuance. The public doesn't dig through leaked data themselves. DedSec does it for them, packages it, and delivers it in the most shareable way possible.
911, what's your emergency?
That's power. Not freedom, power. Marcus himself reflects this shift without ever fully acknowledging it. He starts as someone uncomfortable with being watched, profiled, and judged by a system he never consented to. By the end of the game, he's one of the most powerful unseen forces in the city, capable of manipulating infrastructure, finances, public opinion, and even people's personal lives with a few keystrokes. The difference is that Marcus believes he's right, and that belief is what makes the situation dangerous, even if his intentions are good. The corporation's DedSec fights are awful. That part never changes. Bloom, Titus, Haum, and the various tech giants are obsessed with profit, control, and data extraction. They exploit users, track behavior without consent, and treat people as products. DedSec is right to expose them, but what Watch Dogs 2 quietly shows is that tearing down a corrupt system doesn't automatically prevent a new one from forming. DedSec doesn't destroy the tools of control, they inherit them. By the final stretch of the story, DedSec operates almost like a decentralized tech giant itself. They have branding, reach, influence, loyal followers, and cultural power. Their logo is everywhere. Their message spreads faster than any corporation's press release. And unlike Bloom, they aren't accountable to anyone. No oversight. No transparency beyond what they choose to reveal. No way for the public to opt out once DedSec decides something needs to be exposed. In 2026, this feels uncomfortably familiar. We live in a world where independent groups, influencers, and digital movements can wield more power than governments, often without checks or responsibility. Watch Dogs 2 predicted this shift without fully realizing it. DedSec's success proves that control doesn't require authority, it just requires reach. And reach is earned through attention, not ethics. What makes this topic even more fascinating is that the game never frames DedSec as villains. They win. They save lives. They stop murders, human trafficking, mass surveillance, and political manipulation. The problem isn't that they're wrong, it's that the system they create depends entirely on who holds the keyboard. If DedSec fell apart tomorrow, nothing stops another group from using the same methods for far darker goals. The infrastructure of influence is already built. Marcus walks away at the end as a hero, but also as a prototype. He proves that one skilled individual, backed by the right network and public momentum, can reshape an entire city without ever being elected, appointed, or questioned. That's the real legacy of Watch Dogs 2. Not hacking streetlights or drones, but demonstrating how modern power actually works. By 2026, the game feels less like fiction and more like a case study. DedSec didn't end surveillance culture. They showed everyone how to weaponize it differently. And once that door is open, there's no closing it. That's the uncomfortable truth Watch Dogs 2 leaves behind, and why it feels more relevant now than when it first launched. What really seals this idea is how casually the game treats the aftermath of DedSec's victories. Major corporations collapse, executives are exposed, systems are shut down, and then the city just keeps moving. San Francisco doesn't fundamentally change. CTOS is damaged, but not erased. Surveillance doesn't disappear, it fragments. Power doesn't die, it decentralizes. And DedSec, whether they intend to or not, becomes proof that control is no longer exclusive to governments or megacorporations. Anyone smart enough, loud enough, and charismatic enough can seize it. The irony is that DedSec's biggest enemy isn't Bloom or any single tech company. It's inevitability. Technology never rolls backward. Every exploit Marcus uses, every vulnerability he exposes, becomes knowledge that others can copy. By 2026 logic, DedSec is basically open-sourcing rebellion. They normalize hacking as activism, data leaks as justice, and digital sabotage as protest. That's empowering, but it's also terrifying. The game never asks what happens when those same tactics are used without DedSec's moral compass. Or worse, with a warped one. Even DedSec's internal dynamic hints at this fragility. The group relies heavily on trust, shared values, and Marcus's restraint. Sitara pushes the art and message, Wrench leans into chaos and spectacle, Josh focuses on code and efficiency. It works because they balance each other. Remove one piece and the entire philosophy shifts.
No way.
In another universe, DedSec could easily slide from activists into enforcers, deciding which truths deserve exposure and which don't.